Hello and welcome. Today's podcast episode is going to be a listener shout out, and then we're going to explore a few themes around the reality of business growth and learning. What else? Okay, achieving scale, um, navigating the student market, and education. That's for those of you who are trying to build businesses and you're still in school. Then we're going to talk a bit about market strategy. Yeah, market strategy, local versus international. And then we're also going to look at sales strategy and why sometimes we should focus on targeting rather than pitching. Now, some of you are going to say, wow, that's a lot. Yes, it is. It is a lot. And that's because whenever people reach out to me from the podcast, we chat back and forth and a couple of issues come out. So this is just how an everyday normal conversation is with me. Now, if you'd like to connect with me, just like Sam did, that's the name of the person who reached out, the person who I had this WhatsApp chat with, then you can connect with me by calling, sending me a text message or a WhatsApp message on 080-6466-2140. Now, if you're interested in a 15-minute sale audit, you can WhatsApp me on the same number, 080-6466-2140, or you can join my WhatsApp channel for updates every once in a while. So, listener shout out. First of all, shout out to Sam, and his business is Vision World Hub. He's into academic research. And for those of you who've been listening for a while, no, it's not the same guy. There has been another person who was a client who was also in academic research, but he is based in Kwara, I think. Yeah, he's based in Kwara. So it's not the same guy. This is a different person. So, Sam from Vision World Hub, thank you very much for listening to the podcast, and thank you very much for reaching out. I took the liberty of using your real name because I assumed that, you wouldn't mind. Anyway, I didn't use your surname, so I guess we're covered. So Sam sent me a message on WhatsApp, well, several messages, and one of them in particular caught my fancy, and that's the reason why I'm making today's podcast episode. So, he says he had, okay, no, I caught this message midway. Anyway, he admitted that he listens to me and he subscribes to the podcast, and he's been following other people, listening to other things, but no method is never enough. And so that's the reason why he's also subscribing to my own podcast. Then he mentioned that he's been learning to implement the things that I talk about over here. He also mentioned that his business is not yet on a big scale. We spoke a bit about how he currently, the market he focuses on is the student market because he's a student of architecture in Benin. Then let's see what else. Okay, then we spoke a bit about building customers locally and then internationally. And he said he needs to learn more about how to pitch himself and to scale better. Then he said that my podcast has been instrumental. And thank you very much, Sam, for the very kind words. And Sam, if you're listening to today's episode, please remember to share the podcast with other people who might find it instrumental as well. So during the chat, I responded, and of course, because I was glad and flattered to hear the nice thing he had to say. Although I told him that I don't think he has a pitching problem, that I think he has a targeting problem. Some of you might wonder, what's the difference? What's a pitch? What's targeting? Don't worry, we'll get to that. But summary, the idea behind this whole thing, targeting versus pitching, is sometimes our business problems go away when we start talking to the right people. Sometimes you're talking to the wrong crowd. So it's not a matter of you need to fix something, you need to refine something. You just need to stop looking at the people that you're currently talking to. Because these people that you're trying to chase, they're the wrong crowd. It's not going to work. It ain't going to happen. So that's just one thing that I wanted to get him to understand. And that is the main reason why I'm making today's podcast episode. So let's explore some major ideas from this exchange between Sam and I. So now this whole thing of no method is ever enough. Now, Sam is absolutely correct. Excuse me. Sam is 100% correct. Sorry about that. So, yes, there is no silver bullet. It is something I keep saying on the podcast over and over again. There's no silver bullet. So anybody who has found this podcast, for instance, thinking that I'm a prophet and I'm going to say something which is a divine ray of truth and will solve all your problems, I'm sorry, you're going to be disappointed. So there is no silver bullet in business. The best we can do is to just keep looking for different frameworks and different methodologies for growing businesses. Now, no matter the frameworks or the methodologies that you find, even though they seem disparate, even though they seem separate, the thing is, for a particular context or for a particular personality or for a particular industry or challenge, you will find a bunch of things that work together. And so you now have to become skilled. You now have to become adept at figuring out what to apply and when. But you're going to weave together a certain number of tools that work for you in your own particular situation, in your own particular context. So, yeah, Sam is correct. There's no silver bullet. And if there's anybody who came here looking for a silver bullet, I'm very, very sorry. So, this podcast is going to be useful to learn how to sell well, especially when we are talking about personal selling, which is contexts, relationships, situations where you are interacting with someone one on one, sending an email to somebody one on one, making a phone call one on one, going to visit someone and you are face to face, these sorts of situations. So having a conversation with one person and that person is important enough that you want to build profitable and pivotal relationships with. So if you're looking for that sort of thing, then yes, I'll help you. But my podcast is not sufficient. It's not. So you should also be looking for podcasts on business management because eventually you're going to have a team and people beyond you. So you will have to learn management. So start looking for podcasts on business management. You will have to look for podcasts on finance. It's absolutely important because people reach out from me from time to time. And after we talk, I say, look, your problem is a finance problem. It's not a sales problem. And I'm not a specialist in in finance, so I can't help you. So start looking for podcasts in finance. But of course, relative to where you are right now. So if you are self-employed and you're looking for podcasts on finance where they start talking about special purpose vehicles and things like that, that's too much. It's beyond you. So look for podcasts and money podcasts, finance podcasts that are relevant to your own stage. Then you also need podcasts in people and resource management, podcasts in negotiation, different things like that. So just like Sam, broaden your horizons, look for a whole bunch of stuff, but make sure that my own podcast is always top 5. Make sure, because sales is the lifeblood of business. If you don't have sales, then there's no point in pursuing the other stuff. So if your sales are poor, then what are you doing listening to business management about? Like, if your sales are poor, there's no business to manage. The same thing with negotiations. If your sales are poor, which one you they negotiate? There's nobody to negotiate. It's just you in your office every day or every week. Maybe once every 2 months you get a customer, but which kind negotiation you they do? Having one customer every month, that's not enough to say you're practicing negotiation skills. So always keep my own podcast top 5, but you will always have to look for other stuff. Then he said his business is not on a big scale yet, and I agree with him. But when Niger boys say that business is not on a big scale, sometimes I get the impression that they mean something else. So that's why I keep talking about scale and what scale means. Now, scale just means that you're growing a business beyond your personal efforts and beyond your constraints. The reason why I'm pointing this out is because when most Niger boys say that they want to scale, what they mean is they want to hammer, they want to blow, they want to get billions. So getting billions does not necessarily mean you have scaled. Let me explain. So scaling just means I'm growing beyond me. So right now, I'm consulting, but I'm a one-man show. So, God forbid, if I drop dead right now, everything comes to an end. So my business has no scale because everything starts and everything ends with me. That is why I keep telling people that, look, don't even call me a businessman. I am not a businessman. I am self-employed. There's a difference. Because if, let's say I'm eating akara now and I'm rushing the akara real fast and I don't have water with me and maybe, I don't know, something happens and I get scared and then I choke and then I die, that's it. That's the end. Nothing else. Because I do not have scale. Scale is when your business grows beyond your personal efforts and beyond your constraints. So if you are alive and well, the business will grow. If you are no more, the business will grow. If you take a break, the business will grow. Whatever it is you're doing, the business will grow. Excuse me, because it does not depend on you. So some of you may get tired when I'm making all these distinctions, but I'm not just being theoretical. It's very practical. A lot of us are not business people. Yes, to big up ourselves, when you go home, your auntie says, "Oh, so what do you do?" You say, "I'm a businessman." You can tell her that to show off, but really, you're not a businessman. You're self employed because you don't have scale. Everything still rests on you. So, to scale in the real sense, what is required is you need people, you need teams, because of course you got to delegate to other people. Then you need systems, or you need frameworks, or you need standard operating procedures. They're all the same. Systems, frameworks just means the guidelines, the instructions, the toolkit that you will use to train other people. So in the beginning, when it's just you doing the research and the writing, no problem. But eventually, you hire two, three, four people to now write under you, or to now do research under you, or to now sell under you. And I'm talking to you, Sam. So the documents, the processes, the systems that you will use to train these new writers, this is how you research a topic. This is how you create the synopsis. This is how you do draft chapter. This is how you write a conclusion. This is how, see, all of that. That we call systems and frameworks. Then you will also have some people who will be selling on your behalf, assuming that those writers are not the ones who will sell. So the thing that you will use to now train those people who are selling on your behalf, we only sell to the student community. This is how we approach students. This is how we start the conversation with them. This is how we figure out what they need. This is how we argue that we can deliver them value. So the thing that you will use to train them, those are the systems, the frameworks, the standard operating procedures. So you need them to scale. Because scaling involves people and teams. And you can't just get a team, put them in the office and say, "Oh yeah, start work." It's not like that. You have to train them. So everything that you use to train them, the frameworks, all of that, make sure that they're down in writing. Down in writing on your Google Calendar, down in writing on a folder, in a file, in a cabinet, somewhere, so that people can refer to it, so that they can be trained on, and so that they can get all the answers to all the problems that they're facing in the business. Then to scale, you also need technology. Technology just to, how do I put it now? To multiply your efforts, let me put it that way. So those are the things that are required for scaling. You need people, you need teams. Then you also need systems and frameworks. Then after that, you need technology. So just like that bank, Zenith Bank. You know what they used to say back in the day now? Zenith Bank. People, process, technology. So that's what you need to scale. Now, when it comes to scaling, be patient. Rome was not built in a day. So just be patient. Don't expect that you can scale overnight. But the reason why I'm talking about the scale thing is just in case there's another guy like Sam who is in Benin, or somebody else who is in Lagos, who thinks that scale means you make $1 billion naira. That's not what scaling means. Because you can have $1 billion naira but no scale at all in any of your business ideas. So if you have $1 billion naira right now, but your $1 billion naira, now the result of a hustle, you the hustle, you're a sharp guy on the move, 1, 2, 3, you don't collect, if that's where your billion has come from, you don't have scale. Because the moment you can't be moving sharp, 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 like if you marry and you go for honeymoon, the honeymoon is sweet, you stay on honeymoon for maybe like 4 or 5 months. That 4 or 5 months, no money is coming in because you're not moving again. So the fact that I have $1 billion naira does not mean you scale. But we should be aiming for both. We should aim to have that $1 billion naira. We should also aim to scale. Then Sam also says that he's currently in school. He's studying architecture. I think that's really, really impressive. That's being in school and trying to build a business. In fact, this is my guy with Ikenga Software Factory. That's IKSF. I mentioned them in the previous episode. If you just listen, you know what that's about. It's also one of the reasons why I mess with the guy, because I really dig, people who are in school and, then they're on the come up. I dig it. I really, really dig it. So for those of you who are like Sam and the founder of IKSF, Ikenga Software Factory, who is still in school, Um, it's how will I put it now? It's tough, really tough, especially those of you who are on the cusp of first class. You want to graduate first class, like my guy at IKSF. Okay, Sam, I didn't ask you about graduating first class, but it's worth it. Try and graduate first class. So for those of you who are on the cusp, almost worth it. Oh. It's hard, but it's worth it because you are building transferable real world skills. You're in school, but you're also doing something that relates to the real world. And you're talking to people in, how do I explain itself? Look, trying to grow a business will force you to get some skills that work in the real world. So, like, say, Sam, for instance, Sam is talking about how he's struggling to attract the ideal client. When Sam leaves school, because he studied architecture, in fact, it is perfect. Because, Sam, you study architecture, me, I studied law, so you are my brother. Some of you say, what does law have to do with architecture? This is what law has to do with architecture. Now, there are other industries that when you go and finish school, career path, don't they? Everything is aligned. If you study medicine, it is assumed that you will work in a hospital. And government hospitals are there, you just blend accordingly. But now, when you study law, when you study architecture, it is kind of implied that you will fend for yourself. Some of you might not understand, but if you're in law, you understand what I mean. If you're in architecture, you understand what I mean. Your teachers, when they're teaching you, they don't teach you as if when you finish, you will go and do government work, or when you finish, there's ministry work or something. They're teaching you as if when you graduate from architecture or when you graduate from law, that you will sort yourself out. So perfect. Sam is studying architecture. Now, assuming this research thing doesn't work out, and Sam finishes with first class architecture, then he goes for masters. Let's say he goes for masters, New York School of Architecture or something, something. The guy come back. What will be the first challenge? Attracting ideal clients. Now, somebody like him who has gone through the trouble while he was in university to attract ideal clients when he was doing research business, can you see how somebody like him, go fear too much? Some of you are scared because you've never done it before. Now, for Sam and other people who are in school, they've done it. So it's just, how do I put it? Same challenge, just different neighborhood. Same hustle. That's how it is. So it's good. So keep it up, Mr. Sam. And those of you who are in school, this is the lady who reached out to me from OAU. Sorry, I can't remember your name because it's been a while since we spoke. But it's you. At the time she reached out to me, she was in second year, second level OAU. I graduated from OAU, so it was really nice to hear one of my juniors listening to the podcast. She's in the perfume business. Yeah, perfume business. Although me, I was kind of shocked. I was like, perfume, from law to perfume, like from where to where. But anyway, it was a good conversation. So for all my peeps, Sam doing research, that my OU babe doing perfume. Who again? These ladies from Ibadan. I think they finished nursing or something. I can't remember. It's been a while. Shout out to all of you. It's tough, but continue. So those ladies who are in Ibadan doing nursing, I think it was nursing. Their own business was catering, yeah. And then one of them got transferred to Kano, so she was even worried, like, this one that they're sending me to Kano, how will I continue? So, but continue. It's worth it. You are building real world skills. You're getting rid of the fear of failing. You are learning how to hustle. So continue. But please also be focused on school. All right? So if you can graduate first class, please graduate first class. Some people say first class we'll talk about that in another episode. If you can graduate the first class, we'll talk about that in another episode. Now, one more thing. All of you that are in school and una de also, I don't know if it's a generational thing, but like people don't have, no boyfriend, no girlfriend. Like, what's going on? Like, I don't understand. I don't get it. What happened? Who decided overnight that romance is no longer a good thing? You see, look, it's good that we graduate first class and it's good that we have hustle. All right? So it's good that we get first class and then we make that money. What about romance now? What is going on with you people? I understand that relationships are hard, and in the media, all we hear about is marriages that are suffering and husband and wife that are stabbing themselves and marriages breaking up and everything. But come on now, male and female, complementary. It's the spice of life. So as you're hustling and as you're trying to graduate, make time for romance, I beg. And marriage is a necessity. All these boys that are running away, they know I'm married. I don't understand. So, okay, Joshua, I'll call you by name, but I won't call you by company. But Joshua, even yourself, how can you be in final year? You don't have babe. Come on now. It's not proper. It's not proper. Make time for romance. So, Sam, you too, if you don't have babe, go and get a babe. And the ladies who are in nursing, well, although they are members of this church, Kumuyi's church, and in Kumuyi's church, you can't have boyfriend. But if you're still in Kumuyi, okay, well, let me not lead anybody astray. But sure, romance is essential. I say romance. I didn't. I'm not saying. Anyway, let me just leave it there. So Sam also says that his market is a student market. Some people are afraid of it, but it has its advantages. Number one, it's seasonal. So if school is out of session, then there's a problem. But having gone through Obafemi Awolowo University and then also gone through University of Aberdeen, looking at things from the real estate perspective, I started seeing that like there's some advantages. There's some advantages because in OAU, all the people, the landlords, people who bought houses or built houses around campus, like steady. You will always have tenants, always. Then you collect your money upfront for the whole year because it's not like Oyibo system where you're renting month to month. So you pay the whole year. So, and even when I was in OU, there was one guy who I think put together something. I can't remember if he put together something or maybe like somebody built it and got him to manage it. But I saw that it was not bad. So if you have a student market, yeah, it's seasonal, but it's not bad. And the thing is, so long as that university exists, you will be able to count on that market and you'll be able to plan on your peaks and troughs. Peaks are just when business is doing good, so money they come. And then troughs is just when everybody has gone home, so there's no money. So like people who used to sell food on the campuses, so those people who had restaurants and things like that, where everybody's around, especially in the beginning of the time when everybody has money, business is booming. Then during holiday, everywhere just quiet. So dealing with student market, it's not that bad. Seasonal, but yeah, you can plan. And quite frankly, for real estate, I think the thing makes sense because I noticed that in University of Aberdeen, the first year the school will give you accommodation because in Aberdeen it was the same thing as in Unilag and OAU. So I think in OAU when I was there, I think student population was about 20, I think maybe 22,000 or something like that. But of course, not enough space. So some people will get allocation on campus. The rest of you go and sort yourself out in town, or you squat. So in the University of Aberdeen was the same thing too. Rooms are limited, but in Aberdeen there's no squatting. Able people now if they catch you squatting, omo, you're on your own. They evict you and just squatter too. So no squatting. But of course, Nigeria now. Once in a while, your guy will come and crash maybe like 1 week before he moves. That kind of thing. So where was I? Gosh, I've lost my train of thought. Anyway, student market is not necessarily a bad market. Now, there's something that people used to say that students don't have money. So when I was in school, that is something that I heard and it's something I believed. But now that I've grown up a bit, I've seen that look, it's not so sure. Because okay, Sam is in Benin, okay, studying architecture. I also have another client who is in Benin, but this guy didn't school in Benin. He just decided to settle down there. And his business is he's into mobile and computer accessories and then gaming accessories and things like that. And so I asked him, like when I was consulting for him, I wanted to know who his ideal customer audience is, his customer avatar, because you need to know who your ideal audience is before you start running up and down, coming up with advertising campaigns or coming up with marketing campaigns and things like that. You need to know exactly who it is you're running after in the first place. So, so this guy said that students were his main customers, and I said, "Students? How? Because what I was told when I was in school is that students don't have money, so never sell to students. That's what I heard. But then this guy is making bank, serious bank. In fact, he has opened a new location in Abuja right now as we are talking. And he said that his students are his main clients. I say how? He says, well, he doesn't know, but students, you guys to form, you have to package, and so students actually buy devices from him, hundreds of thousands of naira. So the brand new iPhone comes out. Who are the people that are going to be buying them? Students. Either babes they want to impress, or boys they want to impress, and so they are buying for babes. But sha, students. PS5, PS this, PS that, Sony, PlayStation this, Microsoft, Xbox that. Anyone we drop, who is going to buy it? Students. Because they want to form and everything. So that really opened up my eyes. Somehow, students, if they think it's important, they find the money. If it's some sort of device or whatever that they think looks cool, like TVs, for instance, like the last time I was in Grand Square and I saw this TV, flat screen TV. I can't remember the make, but Kai, this thing was flat, like flatter than the phone. The TV was mad, and I think it was like 3.6 m, something like that. Yeah, so there's some students that have that. That's what they have. Enter their house. That's what you see there. So somehow they find the money. By the way, I'm not saying you should make students steal. So I guess the lesson here is not to say that students don't have money, but rather we should, if you are in the student market, try and figure out what it is that students are willing to pay money on and then sell that. And yes, for those of you who are curious, yes, it is true. Students don't buy books. So if you want to open up a bookstore on a campus, you're wasting your time. And the good news is, it seems to be universal. In Nigeria, students don't buy books. In the UK, students don't buy books. So I guess the lesson is, if you want to sell to students, look for what it is that they want to buy. If it is textbook you're selling, you're in problem, serious problem. So yeah, look for what students want to sell. I guess that's a lesson for everybody, no matter the business that you're involved in. Don't sell what you think is moving. Look for the thing that is actually moving in the market and then sell that thing. Then on finding the right customers locally and internationally, yeah, so I told him, yeah, that's the focus. But my own advice is master the local game first before you go international. Because too many people try to go international prematurely. And that's one problem that one of my, okay, she was not a client, but she did some work for me, some branding work for me. That was the problem that they were facing. They were trying to go international prematurely. You're trying to go international prematurely. You're trying to target international clients in America and in the US. Meanwhile, your sales motion, you haven't perfected it in Nigeria yet. How do you talk to customers? You don't know. You haven't figured it out, but you want to learn how to sell to foreigners. Okay. Who is your ideal audience? Who are you supposed to be targeting? You don't know. You haven't figured it out on the local audience yet, but then you're going to be spending a lot of money trying to target international audiences online and paying heavy money to Facebook to advertise to these people. So, look, we mean well when we say we want to conquer the international market. We mean very, very well. But we need to just calm down, figure out the local market first. Then the things that we learn will help us to become much more effective, much more efficient when we start targeting international markets. And then apart from that, when you master your craft first in Nigeria, you know that you deliver credible services. Then of course you know that you can deliver services everywhere. If you haven't mastered your craft here in Nigeria and then you want to start trying to sell your branding services abroad, your research services abroad, but then you're struggling, you'll be telling yourself, oh, narcissism. No, it's not really narcissism. It's possible that you haven't really learned your craft, as in you never learn work finish. Or you start saying it's communication barrier. It could be, but maybe it's just that you never learn work finish. And so when you're dealing with people abroad, you are not as good as you think. So master your craft. But for those of you who do research and academic work, like Sam, oh yes, international people pay much better. So especially like Nigerians in diaspora, because like one of my clients, another guy, this one is based in Kwara. Yeah, this guy is in Kwara, and he's also in the research business. Was making good money because you know what it is now. When somebody in America, for instance, you will agree, and you say, "Oh, write my project for me," and then the guy wires you $2,000. You know, to them, $2,000 might not be big, but by the time you receive $2,000 here, that's in the till they enter millions. So it's good money. So for those of you who do research, I understand that after a while, you say, "Look, I'm done. No more OAU. No more Unilag. No more Unimade. No more University of Abuja. No more Noun National Open University." You will now be looking for people in Harvard and or whatnot to be your clients. So I understand, but just know that there are some ethical issues involved. So my client in Quara, he's getting out of the business precisely because of those issues. Because it's good money, but then after a while, he started feeling somehow like, this thing that people are giving me their project, and I'm the one writing the project for them. The thing they want kind. So because of that, he's trying to um, leave the business. Some of you will be asking me who ethics don't help. Look, I'm not going to go into that, but I'm just letting you know that there's some ethical issues involved in this business. So if you want to be involved, just how do I put it? Anyway, I've mentioned that the ethical issues involved. Let me just leave it like that. Then, finally, Sam was talking about how he needs to learn how to pitch better, and this is the main thing that I wanted him to stomach to learn. And this is the main thing that I'm hoping some of you will get. If you didn't learn anything from anything that I've been saying so far, I hope you will get something from this one. Learning how to pitch better is never the problem. I will say it again. Learning how to pitch better is never the problem. Because pitching is guesswork. Sales pitch now. You meet somebody, you say, oh boy, buy my something now, is the best, is the finest, is the brightest, is the blah, 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 blah. That is never the problem. Never. Because pitching is guesswork. Whenever you are in a sales pitch, you are guessing. It is guesswork. So if you want to improve your pitch, essentially you're trying to learn how to guess better, or you're trying to be more eloquent in your guesswork. And that is not the problem. The problem actually is qualification and discovery. Qualification and discovery just means you figure out who is this person, what do they need, what are they trying to achieve, what problems are they running away from, things like that. If you can get to the heart of what it is that people actually need, then you can start making effective presentations. Effective presentations begin with listening better and with knowing your audience. Let me give you an example. You guys remember the time when, I think that was last year, that the kids were going back to school. Then wifey saw this thing on Instagram, something sales, something, whatever. And we went there. But I should have known that it was a trap from the beginning, because I don't like buying clothes. And, if I have money, I'll use the money and do other stuff. I won't really buy clothes. So my wife says I have the fashion sense of a Ghanaian school teacher. Sorry, those of you who are Ghanaian school teachers. My wife said it. Momsy laughed. Momsy agreed. And one of my good friends in business, he agreed as well. So I don't know how Ghanaian school teachers dress, but apparently I dress like one. So, where was I? So I should have known that was a trap. So we went there now, and we bought the things that we're supposed to buy. We bought the shoes for the kids, and we bought, I think, water bottles for the kids. And what did we buy again? The normal stuff. Then, as we were going out, my wife now said, "Madam, you get jeans?" And that's when I just realized, she set me up. My wife lured me out there so she can buy jeans for me by force, by fire. Because she has been saying, go and buy jeans, go and buy jeans. This one you've been wearing it for so long that if you take it and you just dust it, that it is mud that will start coming out of the jeans. And I kept telling my wife, I'm okay, I'm good with these jeans. It's fine. Okay, does it look dirty? I'll wash it. There's no problem. But man, I was too late. She don't set me up. I couldn't run. I was there. I said, Madam, you get jeans? And then Madam was busy outside. So Madam told her husband who was inside about the jeans. Next thing, her husband started saying, bros, see this one now, Wrangler jeans, something, 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 blah, 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 USA, this, that. You see, what Oga was doing is called a sales pitch. There were two people in the store. My wife said, Madam, you get jeans? The madam was busy with customer outside, so she signaled her husband. And then the husband just looked at me. For some reason, he thought Wrangler jeans. Now the one we suit this guy. So the guy started Wrangler jeans, blah blah blah, high quality, USA, blah blah blah, on and on and on and on and on and on and on. Trying to sell Wrangler jeans. That is a pitch. The person that you're talking to, does he like jeans? You don't know. Okay, he likes jeans. Is he a Wrangler person? You don't know. Is he a Calvin Klein person? You don't know. Is he a Christian Dior person? You don't know. Is he a blue jeans kind of person? You don't know. Is he a red jeans kind of person? You don't know. Is he a white jeans kind of person? You don't know. But in your store, the one that looks like he can fit this guy, because I'm on the big side, happens to be a Wrangler jean. So therefore, any guy that come into this store that is asking for jean, so long as it looks like it can fit him, I will pitch. You must buy. You must buy Wrangler jean, USA, high quality, blah blah blah, blah blah blah. That is pitching. Learning how to pitch better is not the problem. Learning how to guess better is not the problem. Or learning how to pitch with finesse is not your problem. Learning how to figure out what the person needs is the problem. Say, hey, bros, you define jean? I say, no be me, oh. Now my wife. Now by force. Then from there, he will know whether he should focus on me or he should focus on madam. If he's focusing on madam, which is my wife, it's not a matter of, madam, okay, so you want to upgrade Oga. How do we want to upgrade him? What's the plan? And then hear what my wife will have to say. Based on what my wife says, he will know what kind of recommendations to make. He will ask me one of two questions. Based on that question, he will now know whether, okay, that for this particular guy, even though madam said jeans, for this particular guy, because of how in the squeezing face, or because of the things he has said, we're better off giving this guy chinos. That is the difference. And that is why lots of you are struggling in sales. You will are learning how to pitch. Guesswork. You just be guessing. Buy me. I'm the greatest. I'm the fastest. I'm the brightest. I'm the newest. I'm the this. UK, fairly used. America, this, that. Sweden, second hand. Do you know if they even care about these things? Ask the person. Figure out what they want. Then tailor your proposal or tailor your presentation accordingly. Listen to people. Know your audience. That is what will make a difference. So, Sam, I didn't tell you this, in the text message, but I'm saying it here on the podcast. I'm hoping you're listening. And I'm also saying it for the benefit of other people who I hope are listening well. Pitching will not solve your problem. Qualification and discovery will. Learning who is in front of you will solve your problems. Learning what they care about will solve your problems. That is what will allow you to make an effective recommendation, a recommendation that will make sense. So, if you're like that Oga and you've been having problem selling your jeans, the problem with selling your jeans is you've been launching straight into a pitch. Figure out who the person is first. If you don't have what they want, you can do the Niger thing of, oh, okay, I don't have it, but my guy in shop B3 has it. You take him there. As you hand him over to the guy in B3, you just give that signal. You raise your eyebrow, so that the guy will understand that, okay, you know what? He will settle you 10% or something. Sometimes that's the right thing to do. So get better at learning what it is that people actually want, people actually need. Then the thing I mentioned about targeting is this. Sometimes you're struggling, but sometimes it's because you're talking to the wrong people. Wrong people just mean people who are not really interested. If the person is not really interested, your chances for closing anything meaningful is low. You're talking to people who are not really interested. You're talking to people who have no need. You're talking to people who have no money. You're talking to people who have no urgency or no compelling reason to take action soon. So if you sell research services and you're struggling with selling your research services, perhaps you're in a place where people are not really interested. Now, maybe people in Uniben are studious, like in OAU, because in OAU with a jack, with a read, well, at least back then, I don't know about now. So if you're trying to sell research services in a school like OAU, you're wasting your time. Who will patronize you? Nobody will patronize you because we they read. But if you want to sell your uh, paper writing services are not taught in Unilag, in Unilag they are not serious. They like to party, they like to play, they like to form. Go there. You will sell your research writing services, your paper writing services, write exam for people, write jam for people, write everything. Because in Unilag, they want to play. By the way, my wife went to Unilag, so it's okay. I can abuse people from Unilag because, we're family. So sometimes you're struggling because where you are, these people are not interested. You think this is a good idea, you're pitching it, you're saying it, but you're in an environment where people just can't be bothered or they have no need. If you're selling your academic writing services in a place where the average CGP is, I don't know, 4.2 or something or more, it will be hard because already, Nene Jack on their own, they're sufficient on their own. Like, it will be hard. No interest, no need. Sometimes it is no money. You want to sell your research writing services, you want to sell your paper writing services, you want to sell your whatever, but you do not want to take this job for anything less than 650K. Some people will say, 650K, you know what? I'm better off writing it by myself and carrying and getting extra and trying again rather than carrying the 650K and giving it to somebody when there's no guarantee that if I give them the 650K that I'll pass. Please, I am not advocating that any of you should be engaging in, illegal, unethical. You see, this I say that these are some of the ethical issues involved, which is why my client inquirer is bailing because for him it's like he has had enough. He's made some money, but he thinks, "Guy, by conscience, I beg is too much," so he's on way out. So sometimes people have no money. Sometimes they have no sense of urgency. You might be trying to sell your services, but most of the people, maybe plenty of them already have extra. So as far as they're concerned, like, already have extra. My GPA has already suffered. I'm coming back again next year. Like, what's the rush? Let me just relax. I'll be back next year. No urgency, no compelling reason to take action soon. So sometimes you are talking to the wrong people. Sometimes when you start talking to new people or the right kind of people, the problem is solved. Oh dear, 45 minutes. Okay, let me bring it to a close. The example that I like to give, although there are lots of factors involved, is this very podcast. When I started off this podcast, some of you who have discovered the show and have started from the beginning is something that you guys mentioned, and I'm terribly sorry. I did not mean to deceive any of you at all. I didn't mean to deceive any of you. But honestly speaking, in the beginning, when I started this, was because a friend of mine was a wedding planner, said, Tavishima, you're good at sales. Come and train my girls. And that's how I started. And I thought it was something that every single wedding planner, every single event planner, every single wedding photographer, every single video person, every single cake person, I thought it was a gospel that they needed to hear. So that is why if you discover the first podcast episodes, maybe like the first, 200, 300, that is the reason why I was talking only to photo people, video people, wedding planners, because I thought it was a gospel that they needed to hear. But it became clear at the end of the day that I was talking to a wall. It's a message that they need to hear, yes, because there are lots of photographers and graphic design artists and people like that who are suffering, and they think, oh, it's the economy or it's the village people. They don't know is that it's because they're bad at selling and they don't have a sales process. Maybe the problem was I was not good enough then in talking about these sorts of things as I am now. But clearly, the people I was talking to, and even me, the person talking, there was dissonance, was not blending. It was not correlating. So after I figured out that lots of people who reach out to me, just like Sam did, were people who were not in the event space, I decided to open it up. I started talking to Nigerians in general. And once I started talking to Nigerian business people in general, guess what happened? The podcast grew. I wasted a long time talking to the wrong people. I was still saying the same thing. All I just did was, instead of looking straight and talking, I just did about turn. I started talking to somebody else. Bam, that's it. And then I started picking up. So sometimes you're struggling in your business, not because you don't know how to pitch. It's because you don't know how to figure out what it is that people want, what it is that they need. And so you can't tailor your presentation accordingly. And then sometimes is that you are talking to the wrong people. Once you try a new crowd, oh yeah, these people is not working. You try a new crowd, like, oh, okay, I guess that was the problem. But anyway, there are lots of things that are involved. So you would have to sit down with a specialist or have to do lots of research to figure out which of these parts are the problem. Is your messaging the problem? Are you saying things the right way? Is your targeting the problem? Are you going after the right people? Is the problem with your sales, with your sales process, your selling framework? You don't have a way to figure out what people want, what they need, and then how to make an effective proposal. So yeah, you have to sit down and look at it, but don't always just assume that I need to learn how to pitch. And please, my brothers and sisters, Nigerians, let's stop being fascinated by pitching. I don't know when this thing became popular in Nigeria, but nowadays everybody wants to pitch. You want to have the perfect sales pitch. You want to have the just relax. The pitch is not always the problem. So applying these principles can be tricky. So if you need me to look at your particular circumstances, just call me. Send me a text message or a WhatsApp message on 080-6466-2140. You're interested in a 15-minute sale audit, you want me to look at some of your business processes, WhatsApp me on the same number, 080-6466-2140. So that's it. Thank you very much for your time and attention. I'll catch you all at the next episode.